KTGR, The Big Show, starts now.
You bet it does. Welcome in to Monday's edition of The Big Show on your total sports station, KTGR. Andy Humphrey and Brendan Schaefer here as we talk about Mizzou men's basketball, as our nice commenter Samuel says on our YouTube channel. They can't go 0-18 this year, people. Not happening. So forget it. Not going to happen. Don't have to worry about that anymore. There you go.
I don't know if I was worried about 0-18, but I definitely was kind of resigned to my fate that I would be rooting for a team that was about to go like 4-14, 5-13 in conference play. Maybe that's not the case anymore after what we saw on Saturday night. We might have a situation developing here, Andy.
If that's in Mizzou, like if they've got that in them, then maybe we should rethink a little bit about what they've got for this year. We'll talk about it here in a few minutes. Give us your thoughts, your reaction to Mizzou hoops upsetting Florida on Saturday at Mizzou Arena. We'll also talk about Mizzou football. The first weekend of portal season is in the books. PowerMizzou.com is reporting that Mizzou has had its first commitment of the cycle. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about what else the Tigers need. It is a lot for next season. And while the NFL season is in the books for the Chiefs, at least, there will be playoffs, and they will not include the Chiefs this time. It'll be weird to think about, but that's going to be the case. So now, as they head into the offseason, what's their biggest question mark that they have to get answered so that a season like this doesn't happen again under Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and company? Call or text us with what you think at 573-875-KTGR. You can also tweet us at KTGR Big Show. We are live on YouTube right now. You can leave a comment there, youtube.com/@KTGR Sports. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/KTGR Big Show. Anthony Robinson led the way for Mizzou basketball on Saturday night as they took down Florida 76-74. Robinson with 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. Tigers also got Trent Pierce and Jaden Stone back from injury, and they proved to make a difference. Pierce in his season debut had 10 points off the bench. Jaden Stone started the game and pitched in 9 points for the Tigers. They had 2 other players in double-figure scoring as they held on right towards the end. Florida did have a chance at a game-winning 3 at the buzzer, but it did not fall, and the Tigers get their first quad 1 victory of the 25-26 season. They're 1-0 in the SEC, 11-3 overall. They have another chance at a quality win as they visit Kentucky on Wednesday night. Can they get that done? We'll see. That is the Big Show's big deal on this 5th day of January 2026. Give us a call or a text at 573-875-KTGR. Look, like the way that it was playing out, like the Anthony Robinson banked in 3 should have been just the final nail in the coffin. But a travel was not called on Ruben Chinyelu with 10 seconds to go as he caught a pass and shoveled it to a teammate for, I think it was a 3 or an and 1 play, something like that.
No, it was even worse. They fouled him.
Oh, yeah.
You can't foul in that spot. I mean, Mizzou did about everything wrong that you possibly could do wrong in the final, however many seconds were left after Robinson's make.
Yeah.
You foul the guy who makes a bucket. You miss 2 free throws at the line. It could have gone the other way, but it didn't. And the result of the game does matter. I don't know how many times you would replicate that result in the same circumstances if you, again, foul a guy, drive in the lane, and then miss 2 free throws in a row. Like, you're probably going to lose some of those games if you make a habit of that. But they did enough things well in the game to win it, and to win it against a team that was cutting down the nets last year. So whatever you might think of Florida this year, and they've lost some pieces, they're not quite the same team. They're still a very good team, and Mizzou beat them. So there is pride to take from that result for the first time all year, where we've been waiting and waiting, Andy, to see something because the non-con schedule was very weak. They had a few big marquee games. They got blasted in them, and we're waiting to see, like, where's something to hang our hats on as Mizzou fans. But Saturday night was something to hang your hat on as You get a couple of key pieces back, and I guess we wondered coming into the weekend, like, how big of a difference could that make? Ended up being a pretty big difference, I think, Andy, and that's kind of the hope you cling to moving forward, is that when you have Trent Pierce playing the way that Trent Pierce played, and you get Jaden Stone back in the mix, and you get the good version of Anthony Robinson, who played very well in his own right, like, that's three guys that can help you win a basketball game, and I didn't even mention Mark Mitchell.
Right.
So you've got something to work with if that's your circumstance. And that's what they were able to do on Saturday night in a game where they didn't shoot the lights out. It's not like last year when, they won because they shot 53% from three. Like, that's an outlier. No, they didn't really have that, and yet they still found a way to win the game.
Florida is one of the best, if not the best, rebounding team in the country so far, and Mizzou was even with them. Like, that's huge. That's huge right there. That's the first thing. Second thing, a lot of criticism over Dennis Gates, and deservedly so, over the last couple of months or so. People asking, like, what's the plan, when things go wrong? How do you counterpunch? How do you make adjustments? Is that happening? And maybe there's still a little bit of that, but I'll say this about Dennis Gates. In some key spots, he does know how to game plan going out against the team. And when it works, it can work very well for Mizzou's favor. Two things that really stood out with that. I thought the defensive game plan was excellent. It required a really good above your head rebounding effort, and that's what Mizzou got, and that's on the players certainly to make that happen. But at a certain point, Mizzou just said, all right, Florida, go ahead and take threes. Take as many as you want. We know that you can't hit it at a very decent clip, which they had not done so all season long. And sure enough, after they made like 4 of their first 6, they finished like 3 for 20 or something like that.
They made 7 in the game and shot like 25%, give or take.
Yeah. So even when things looked a little bit dicey for Mizzou in that game plan early on, Florida hit their first few. They stuck with it, and it ended up working. Second thing, I love how they used Jacob Cruz in this game. Jacob Cruz did not hit a 3 last night. I think he only shot 1. But the dude is a floor spacer usually, but he's also 6'7". And, oh, shoot, don't make the joke. Florida.
Oh, I could have. I
didn't. I didn't. And
6'7".
We're moving on. Florida had little guards on him all night.
Yeah.
And so when they recognized that, they told Jacob Cruz, all right, go post up. And they entered the ball to him, and he either drew a foul or he got an easy layup or dunk or whatever, or it got Mizzou's offense into what it wanted to be. Maybe he wasn't the one making the shot, but he dumped it off to somebody else to make somebody react. And like, that's how Mizzou was able to penetrate and be able to get into their offense. So like, the fact that that's not his typical game shows that Mizzou can be a little malleable to their opponent to be able to match up well. And I think Dennis Gates does a pretty good job of getting plan A in place, and it usually does work, but we still have to see maybe what adjustments look like. But here, plan A worked, and Mizzou was able to get with it.
No, they had a really good plan, and they were able to execute it. You mentioned the rebounding aspect of it, which becomes a key to the whole situation, but that doesn't happen by accident. Like, I still continue to believe rebounding is about, in many ways, just being willing to do the things necessary to rebound the basketball. It's about wanting to do it. It's about prioritizing it as a team when it comes to not only the players on the floor, but the coaches have to want it as well in the way that they plot things out. And I thought they did a great job of that. And I do think, and I didn't know what version of Trent Pierce we were going to get. We hadn't seen him in a while. Last year, we would see flashes of him looking great. At times last year, though, it felt like he was unplayable because you weren't getting the consistency, kind of the Anthony Robinson problem at times, where, man, when he's at his best, that's a guy that you really think can help win you games. And he was at his best. He played really well. But I also think that even in the times where maybe last year things didn't go great for him at times, he still brings like an energy and an edge and gets after it and can be the guy that can get to a loose ball or rebound. Like, I think they need a presence like him around, and he's long as well, that you talk about, having a size advantage and being able to use it. Like, I just really feel like he was a key to a lot of what they did in the 19 minutes or so that he played.
Well, yeah, him being back and Jaden Stone being back and playing, for both guys playing the number of minutes that they did, it allowed Mizzou to put the guys in the spots that they wanted them to be. They weren't having to play, guys like Luke Northweather 12, 15 minutes. Like, he still contributed and he was out there, but only 7 minutes from him.
There's a bit role. That's
Right.
That's what makes more sense in the construct of the roster and the lineup to have him in that role rather than, a mainstay that is playing 15 minutes, 20 minutes a night. Absolutely.
And look, like, he was still spacing the floor the way that Mizzou needed to, but you'd just rather have Pierce there so that you have more guys to turn to and the depth on your roster is a little bit better. So look, like, maybe we should just start believing Dennis Gates, like, hey, let's get whole first and then we can see what our team looks like. Because, I mean, that was kind of the case 2 years ago where they were never whole for conference play. They never had Caleb Crow or John Tonche. Like, and they did,
To that point, it can be true. It can be true that injuries make a difference and that when you're at full strength, it looks a lot differently because, as you illustrated with the Northweather point, everything else kind of slots into place where it's supposed to be on the roster, and it just fits together like a puzzle. I don't feel like I really should have believed Dennis Gates. No, like, it was time. This was the game where they really needed to start to see it come together, and it is fortunate that you're able to, after the long layoff, get a couple of those guys back healthy and into your lineup. But, like, this, before this game and before the knowledge that you were going to get Jaden Stone and Trent Pierce back for it, this absolutely had the potential to feel like a season that would go off the rails, similar to what we saw a couple years ago. I didn't think 0-18 ever would have happened, but I was very much in the mindset. We talked about it last week where I'm really kind of emotionally out on this whole thing. If they win 4 or 5 conference games, it really, whatever the difference, it doesn't matter. Like, they're not going to be a competitive team this year. Like, I was fully in that place. But when we found out, okay, these are the guys that are going to be coming back and playing in this next game, it was like, all right, if it's not going to happen now, when you do have, that health factor in your favor again, and Porter didn't play, but that, he's got to be one of those guys in the Northweather category if you're really the best version of yourself as a team. If it's not going to happen now, then I really am going to become a skeptic and just kind of, okay, the health thing, you don't even have that to lean back on anymore. It's just over. But in the very first instance, Andy, where we saw him as a pretty well full roster, as full as it's going to get, you ended up seeing exactly what Dennis Gates certainly was hoping to see. And it results in, I think, the trajectory of the season. I'm not going, tournament time, baby. But it's absolutely true that you can start to dream on the season a little bit in a way that I wasn't comfortable doing before. I wasn't comfortable emotionally having that investment because I knew I was going to get hurt. Now I'm kind of, maybe put yourself out there a little bit, Brendan. You might get hurt still, but you also might see some games that are, that are worth investing in and a team that's worth investing in kind of mentally, emotionally in the way that you Mizzou fan this year when it comes to basketball. Like, there might be something out there based on what we saw on Saturday. I needed one data point. Right. We got it on Saturday.
Hey, you finally got that. Call or text us with what you think, 875-KTGR. It's that part of it. And also, like, okay, Mizzou's at mostly full strength now. I don't know if we can assume that they'll be that all season long the rest of the way, right? There will probably be other injuries that come up. So how do you adjust to it? Like, we still need to see how Mizzou is able to adjust to adversity, both in game and then preparing for games if they know that they're not going to have somebody available or something like that. This was a very good example of what Mizzou is when their plan goes right. But how are you able to then adjust when other SEC teams will see tape on you, see what you did well, and start to make the adjustment themselves? That's why this week is going to be interesting. Like, they go on the road to Kentucky and Ole Miss.
Oh, it's going to be real interesting to see what this week brings.
Yeah, Samuel on our YouTube channel, the gateway to turning the season around is open. We'll see how the team plays moving forward. Big one on the road Wednesday night against the desperate Kentucky team. I think you can kind of say the same thing about Ole Miss. Like, there are some SEC teams out there. Mizzou's not alone. Like, they actually played some of the non-con games, so they'll get a little bit more credit for it, but they missed out on some opportunities. So they also need to see SEC play as the way to get back to building up their NCAA tournament resume.
A lot of teams in the 60s when it comes to KenPom this year in the SEC, which is not what we saw last year. I mean, you would have been just total bottom feeder if that's where you were last year. And now you've got a handful of teams that are kind of all in that same boat. And, some of them will then end up proving themselves against these same teams to maybe end up, moving up the ranks a little bit.
So we'll see what that looks like. But look, we're looking for something. And at least in this point, Dennis Gates was able to show it with his team. I think the other aspect of it is like, look, he kind of alluded to it in the press conference. He swore, he used the AH word.
Yeah, you can't say that.
Can't say that one here,
no.
But
you can pick one or the other, but you can't say them both together.
Said he was an AH to his team for like a full week, and it's like
good.
Yeah, and look, like Mizzou had more than a week and a half to prepare for this one. Okay, now you only get 2-3 days here on out to prepare for each and every game. So how do you now use your time?
Can you sustain that? Like whatever coach did during that week and a half lead up that caused him to say, thanks to my players for letting me kind of get on them and do that. That's got to be sustained without him, on them in that same way every single time, because it's going to be different when you're playing 2 games a week now moving forward. For the most part, you're not going to have that ability to kind of like step back and take a practice approach and really ride them. You've got to have their energy for games as well. But as players, can they say, hey, the way coach was kind of hard on us was what we probably needed, but let's play in such a way that we don't need it again. Like don't let that be like you got to the mountaintop because you beat Florida. Let that be the first example in a season that can absolutely still be saved and be revived if you're Mizzou basketball and you're trying to have some aspirations, as Coach Dennis Gates is never shy about having. Like, you've got to find a way to sustain that momentum that certainly was built on Saturday, but clearly built in the lead up to that game as well because of the way that they planned and prepared.
And look, Mizzou now has something to build off of, but this week will probably be a little more telling as to what they can be in SEC play. James says, I think Kentucky is a very winnable game, and so is Ole Miss next Saturday. I mean, we'll see. I think they held their own against a non-NCAA tournament team in Notre Dame, just fell a little bit short in the last half minute. They made the shot. Mizzou didn't on the road.
Yep.
Maybe this is similar. Maybe you're dealing with a little bit better talent, I think, for both Kentucky and Ole Miss, but now you've got a little more to work with and a little more confidence coming out of what you had at home against Florida. And look, I get it. Florida sees them like they're not ranked anymore, right? They lost and they probably dropped out of the
I think so, because they were in the 20s. So
I mean,
I don't spend a lot of time looking at the basketball rankings, not like we did with football, where every Monday you're like, hey, are we in it?
College football means a little bit. The basketball one,
it doesn't mean anything, but listen, when Mizzou is in the basketball rankings or on the doorstep, I'm looking.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything, but I still want to know. I don't really have that. That's not baked into my routine for the early week here yet this year. Maybe I say yet. What would you look for out of this week? You play Kentucky on Wednesday, Ole Miss on Saturday, both games on the road. Mizzou winning the game against Florida, just a reminder just how good they've been at home in recent years. Like, they win a lot of home games, and there's a lot of games against teams that have come to your place that, they're better than you, but they may not end up being heavily favored over you by the time that the game comes around because of, you're a little better than we thought in Mizzou's case. And also it's hard to beat teams on the road and especially coming to Missouri where they tend to win at home. So like, if you win the games you're supposed to win against the like opponents at home, you pick off a couple of the ones that are better than you, like they did against Florida. And then when it comes to road games, you win the ones like the Ole Miss where you're kind of in the same boat as those teams. That's how you kind of build up your season. But it starts this week, right? Like, you can't beat Florida and be feeling great about, hey, maybe this thing has a chance to be interesting until March. And then you lose 2 games in 1 week, even on the road twice. Don't you have to kind of split this at a minimum?
I think so.
Keep the momentum going.
Certainly the momentum. If you don't get either, you're not out of it, but I'm
not thinking about resume. It's momentum.
Momentum.
Right now.
Okay.
Like, proof of concept.
Well, yeah, a split then is what you're looking for.
Yeah. Resume. I'm like, I still think we're too early to be, oh boy, this is our quad one and we need this. No, you just got to kind of stack good efforts and not even always good results. Like, you can lose at Kentucky, but if you lose by 5 and you play them tough and you don't give away anything, you don't concede the game. Like,
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't look all at resume
block,
either, but I would say like within the SEC, if you can finish in the top half of that league, then you're going to be in the mix. And I think if you had told me that Mizzou would be in the mix when the buzzer was sounding in St. Louis a couple weeks ago, like, wow, what did they accomplish then? Like, I would say that you're looking a little more at the record right now, how you can maybe get to 10, potentially. Like,
not me.
Well,
I'm excited about the win on Saturday, but I am of the belief that it's too early to do that still. I want to see how they play against Kentucky. I'm not.
How they play on the road, certainly, because can't get to 10 if you don't get a road win.
But it's their next game, right? Yeah. I want to see, regardless of who the opponent is, and it happens to be Kentucky, I would be saying, I want to see, before we start talking about getting to 10 and resume and quad this, quad that, they played one good game, and I enjoyed it. I'm wondering how they respond to that. If they revert right back, then it's like, oh, okay, we got ahead of ourselves. If they don't, I'm not saying they have to win the game, but if they play well and this version of the team is the one that we can start to count on as like, hey, there's going to be some consistency here. There's going to be some things you can come to expect when Jaden Stone, Trent Pierce, when these guys, when Anthony Robinson is going to play this way, there's some aspects of that, and this is how it's going to look. Then I'll be like, okay, let's take a look at resume. Okay, yeah, this Ole Miss game is one that you need. That's one you got to pick up. I just still feel like it's a little early. I said 4.5, right? I think was the over-under on conference wins last week. Would you set it differently now based on the Florida game? I think the answer for me is yes.
Yeah.
But I'm not setting it at 8 or 9.5. I'm setting it like
all right,
6.5.
6.5.
That was like, okay, it's in them to do something like this. But can you do it again? And can you do it regularly enough that I go, yeah, you know what? 7, 8 conference wins, certainly on the table, certainly well in play. Have a good week here. That's the point at which I'll you split, you lose close to Kentucky, and you beat Ole Miss. Next week, Andy, we can have all the conversations. You can throw the quadrant numbers at me. You can throw the bracketologies at me. I'll be ready to be back in it. It would only take just that long. But right now, I just like, okay, I liked one good result, but like you said, that wasn't a game where they really had to revert to plan B, C, and D. They had a plan of how they wanted to neutralize Florida, and it worked, and they won the game. So but I feel like it's like a baby step for me.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, we're making sure that we don't get ahead of ourselves, I suppose, with just one good win. I will say this, though. Rest of the home schedule, out of all the opponents Mizzou has left at home, the only team that is better right now in KenPom than Florida is right now is Vanderbilt, who looks awesome, by the way.
They're a wagon.
Didn't really cover this weekend, and I was happy about that. But Vanderbilt's the only team that's ranked higher in KenPom than Florida is that Mizzou hosts this season.
Sure.
So, like, they have a chance to clean up against their home schedule, if you ask me.
They do. And, like, even teams like a Georgia that's in the 20s, like, you got teams in the 20s, and you're Mizzou hovering around 60. When you're playing those types of teams at home, you're talking about pretty well coin flip. You're going to be expecting point spreads within a possession or so in either direction. And like, that's enough to give you that kind of, okay, maybe we can do this. Maybe we can beat some of these teams. And as you said, clean up your home schedule. But right now, when we're talking about having data points, it was like truly had no idea what to expect of Mizzou because for so long they didn't play anybody. And then they start playing their rare non-conference games against teams that have a pulse, and it doesn't go well. You're like, well, what I'm left to deduce from that so far in the very minimal amount of data that we have is like things aren't going to be very good this year. But then we get one like this. It could still more be about Florida than Missouri, I guess is what I would say.
Sure,
because it's only one data point. So if I get it again against a team like Kentucky's got its own issues, but the more different teams you are competitive against and maybe even beat like these teams, the more I'm not going to hand wave it away to say it's a Florida problem. Like you're going to see they're a bubble team themselves. One more game and they don't have to win it. But if they play well on Wednesday, I really think I'll go into Saturday expecting to win because now I've raised my expectations for what they can do. But then, I mean, it's if they meet those expectations in this next week, I absolutely see the light to starting to talk about the 10-win season and starting to talk about tournament seeding and all those sorts of things.
Call or text us. How do you feel about Mizzou's win over Florida this past Saturday? 573-875-KTGR. You can comment on YouTube and on Facebook as well to reach us. We'll talk more about that game and about Mizzou football trying to restock for 2026 in the transfer portal. There's a report that says that they have their first commitment of the transfer portal cycle. We'll talk about that and more on The Big Show, KTGR.
Miss the latest edition of The Big Show? Catch up on demand with a full show podcast on the KTGR app. Download it now wherever you get your apps.
Michael Agnew here with API Project Fitness. I understand that life is hard, and if you're soft, it will squish you. You must find a way to be hard. Armor yourself up mentally and physically and emotionally. Our goal is to help you find your inner strength and hardness. The difference between strength and weakness is choice. With our group fitness classes and personal training and open gym, the choice is yours. Choose strength. Find us at apiprojectfitness.com or call us at 573-268-6944 to make an appointment.
I stopped smoking with Mark Patrick's hypnosis when nothing else worked. 1 year later, my wife Michelle and I attended the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis seminar. In 2 months, lost 43 pounds, and she lost 18 pounds.
And we feel great.
Hypnosis, only $59.99. Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m.
Hi, I'm Tristan Colon, Mizzou grad and 6-year NFL veteran.
I'm Charlie Stickland.
And I'm Sarah Stickland-McDonald of the Stickland & Stickland Injury Law Firm.
In football, home field advantage can make all the difference.
The same is true when choosing your injury lawyer.
We're locals. We know the courts, we know the towns, we know the people.
Just as I protect my team on the field,
Our family will protect your family.
When sorry just doesn't cut it.
push back with Stickland & Stickland.
It's hard to believe basketball season is already here. 1851 Underground Tap and Grill reminds you that whether you need a place to grab a bite after a local high school or college game, or you just want to plop down with some friends and watch some hoops on TV, they've got a spot for you. 1851 Underground has drink specials and discount happytizers for happy hour. Check them out on Facebook or at 1851underground.com. It's not a secret, but it is underground. 1851 Underground Tap and Grill in the historic Brick District, downtown Fulton.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Everyone's looking for their paradise. For some, the search starts at a dispensary. At Shangri-La, it is the dispensary. Because Shangri-La isn't a shady, oh, I can't wait to get out of here kind of spot. It's a welcoming, fun place to hang out, watch TV, and learn about the massive product selection with the cool staff. Whether you're a regular or first-timer, they'll get you set up just the way you like. Because Shangri-La Dispensaries is paradise found. ShangriLaDispensaries.com.
Your daily fix of local sports lives here. This is The Big Show on KTGR.
So how do you feel after Mizzou got an upset win in hoops over Florida this past weekend? 573-875-KTGR. James texted in. He had Mizzou over 6.5 or 76.5 team total points, and then Mitchell missed both free throws at the end.
Oh, no.
Sorry, man.
welcome to the jurisdiction of legality and the way that can go just so terribly wrong. Yeah, when he's stepping to the line, you're thinking, just make one of them. First of all, you can't lose to a 3 in regulation if you're up 3. So Mizzou can't lose the game in regulation. That's good. And you win your bet, but he missed them both. They gotta hit free throws better. Like
they do.
I minimize the harping on stuff, talking about that game because they won, but there's stuff that just still grinds your gears. Like I said, they couldn't have done it worse in the final 10 seconds or so with some of the fundamental mistakes that were made. But they win the game, and I was looking for one like that, so I'll forgive some of that stuff.
So we'll see what Mizzou is able to do this week, as they have 2 interesting road games at Kentucky Wednesday, at Ole Miss on Saturday, to see if they can add to this and maybe come out of it still with a winning SEC record. I think that's a goal. Try and get one of these 2, and then I think you do have a little more proof of concept, more so than just one good night, and then you can maybe see what you can do with the rest of your home games, maybe pick off another opponent on the road or 2, and maybe have something. Who knows? But this was the first sign that it could happen.
I'm opening up my heart. I'm opening myself up to the possibility that I could get hurt again. And that's good. That's what you want as a sports fan, because if you're so apathetic that you don't even feel like it's worthwhile to get hurt because you already know the result, well, that's no good. Right. So at least let me get hurt. At least get my hopes up enough to then shatter them in the month of March. Only one team wins the NCAA tournament, so most fan bases are gonna get their hearts hurt.
End of the season with a loss. Pretty much all of them will.
Almost
because
all of them.
Everyone loses in a conference tournament, and the only team that can finish the season with a win mostly is whoever wins the NCAA tournament or the NIT. It could be that too. But
I won't go that far. But it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
It would not. No, I don't think so.
Let's just get some positive momentum for the program, and let's just get the taste of the Drake thing out of our mouths, because that was one that I felt like you could see coming from a mile away, and unfortunately it went exactly the way that I feared it would. And until we can kind of get another crack at it, that's always just going to be lingering there. So let's see what this week can bring, so that maybe by next week at this time I'm starting to think about whether or not a run toward the bubble could be possible.
Well, I know Brendan's hopes are always up over Mizzou football, no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what.
Right.
They're up right now. Shouldn't they be? Should they be anywhere but up when it comes to Mizzou football? We got a quarterback.
Got your quarterback. Yeah, you've got.
He's got a cannon.
He does.
He's a lefty. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? Makes things a little bit different when it comes to the right tackle position versus left tackle.
Yep.
Austin Simmons is reportedly favored essentially to go to Mizzou once he enters the portal, which according to the reports won't be until after Ole Miss finishes their playoff run. So once that happens, it is expected that he will be heading to Mizzou after that. But the first commitment, for sure, according to PowerMizzou.com, they reported it first, is coming from an Oregon cornerback, Jaleel Florence, who is coming over to Mizzou after spending 4 seasons with Oregon, but he's really only played 1 game over the last 2 years because of injury. And so he comes in for to the corner room, which needs some help for Mizzou this year. They lost a ton of corners, mostly to graduation. They've only got, I think, 2 scholarship guys, and only one of them really played some snaps this year. So they gotta restock that cupboard. And it seems that they've started it here with Florence coming from Oregon.
And like you said, has not played in a couple of years, really. Had 27 total tackles in the 2023 season, was a pretty regular piece, it appears, for them that year. And so we'll see. This is just the start of it, right? You got to have volume. You got to have not just quality, but you need quantity. And sometimes, if you just get enough guys through the portal, which they will, we'll end up seeing, which of them are made of the right stuff as you get closer to next season. But whether you look and say, oh my gosh, we got a guy who hasn't played in 2 years, what's that going to do? it's all part of the process. Like you've got to start bringing guys in, especially at a position like cornerback,
because that's a room that needs volume. And so if you need to take a discount on a guy that hasn't played in a couple of years, mostly who's going to come cheaper than maybe some of the bigger names at that same position, then you probably have to do it, right? Because you're working on a budget. And so that's kind of part of this too. We'll see if he's able to contribute in 2026. Can't assume that he's incapable of doing that, but that's kind of how Mizzou has to play this. There are some positions where you can get the big names, and Austin Simmons certainly is a name that like we know the name because he's a quarterback, and I feel like those names get bandied about a lot more than the other positions. But it will be interesting to see what other spots Mizzou finds their Damon Wilson or their Caden Green or their Josiah Trotter. Like, where are they going to maybe prioritize some more dollars so that they can get this one stud that we know if we insert him into our lineup today, it elevates the room, it elevates the unit, and we can try to get closer to the talent level that we had this past year, maybe even a little bit past it. So, that's it.
Which part of that conversation, I'll just take the regular Caden Green. I'll just take that one back, and you got him. So that's already one transfer you don't have to bring in.
Right. Retain your
that
folks.
helps.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I was definitely considering that he would probably be a goner toward the NFL draft, and he's coming back, so that's good.
Yeah, and the offensive line, that kind of changes the math a little bit of what you need on the offensive line, which they still need to replace a couple of starters. But it is nice that you have him back, you have Judice back, Curtis Peekwer got some starting experience, and so we'll see what that room looks like. And we'll say, though, like the defense will have to be where they hit this the most, right?
Like, do a lot there.
Defense and like, look, one or two O linemen, I think is what you need to target. And then several wideouts, obviously. Wide receiver room needs to be built back up. But I think at that point, you do have to focus on pretty much every level of the defense to be sure that you've got enough depth.
Defense is is number one. And then number two is like figuring out offensive line. And maybe the answer is you do want another, like you want to go find your Trost, right? You want to find the guy that is an experienced player at tackle, ideally, and is going to give you more production than probably what you're paying for him. Because I don't know what Keegan Trost was making in NIL, but it was very clear, like they identified that he was a guy that they were looking for, and he was brilliant for them. And so, like, you want to try to find those guys. I will say, though, elsewhere on the offense, like, you do have a lot in the skill position department that I feel very good about. Both running backs, your quarterback, and your number one wide receiver is already locked and ready to go in Donovan Olubade.
Yeah.
And your tight end, Brett Norfleet, if he can stay healthy, is locked and ready to go. So, yes, you need wide receivers to fill out the rest of that, starting group, but I feel like the best wide receiver they have is already on the team, and I'm okay with that. Like, I don't need them to go and spend, an outsized portion of their remaining budget on wideout.
Well,
just because they've got volume of guys they've got to get. Like, I think
you're half right.
You got more important fish to fry, in my opinion, with the way that this team is going to run next year.
But would you agree that Mizzou's offense was a better version of itself when it had both Luther Burden and Theo Weiss?
Yeah, for sure.
You do need a stud from the portal, I think, in the wide receiver room to pair with Olubade, so he is not getting a ton of that attention. And look, keep in mind, he's still a huge talent. He was starting towards the end of this season. I think if you're assuming that he's your number one guy, like, I'm not saying he's incapable of it, but you at least have another guy that can be that, like, to be safe, right?
I feel stronger about Olubade for 2026 than I did about, and you remember the way I talked about Bo Perbula before the season when I didn't really know. I was just, it was hopium.
Right.
But I think we do know with Olubade, like, we've seen it. We've seen glimpses of it, and all that needs to change is the role. And, like, he'll get bigger and faster and stronger and develop more. But I have no doubt in my mind that he'll be a legitimate SEC wide receiver one next year. But you do need the Theo Weiss to go with him. I think that's totally fair.
So we'll see how many of those types of receivers Mizzou could have available to that. It's not like you need to load up on guys like that. But
yeah, I would just rather, if it's like a big expenditure and I know what has to happen on the defense and the offensive line, I would almost rather go for some more diamonds in the rough when it comes to the finances of it at wide receiver, and then say, guess what? Sean Terry, guess what? Like, there's going to be a competition for camp, and somebody's going to be starting for us.
Sure.
And may the best man win. And like you might have, not saying you have another Olubade, like that guy was evident from camp as a true freshman that he was going to be something. But that's, I think, from like a limited resource pool conversation, I'm okay with saying, yeah, you know what? We didn't really throw the ball to two different people this year anyway. We hardly threw the ball to one. So,
well, but
we're going to run the ball.
But I mean, again, like you can still, and you're right, there will be at least a few positions on the field where Mizzou is like, okay, the best cost saving or most efficient use of our resources is to tell the guys that were either true freshmen or redshirt freshmen this year, hey, duke it out. You've got a spot that you can fight for, and we want to give it to you. I don't know what position that will end up being. Maybe it's wide out. Maybe it's corner. Maybe it's safety.
Corner.
I don't know.
I don't want.
Well, you need more corners, obviously. Maybe it's D tackle. Could be like.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think Tristan Wilson has a really good chance to be the starting center now. Like, there's a lot.
There'll be some changeover on the line where they've got some guys on both defensive and offensive line that I think you're seeing all the tweets come through about guys that have re-signed. That, yeah, some of them may become starters because they stayed and developed. And like, I know it is eating a little bit of Eli Drinkowitz, the fact that that's why he is pushing the new way, the Mizzou way. It's about development, and he's really trying to set that foundation so that it doesn't feel like they're wasting their time with high schoolers anymore, because I guarantee you that's how he feels. And he wouldn't be wrong if he did feel that way because of the way that guys get on campus and then they're gone. I mean, the number of guys who have transferred or have announced they're going to be transferring that were down the depth chart and were non-factors this year. And so we as fans look at it and go, whatever, like they weren't playing anyway. Like, I think the design is that eventually they would have, but it's so difficult to retain those type of guys if they don't see the field right away. And so that would show a little bit of a proof of concept to like, hey, the Mizzou way is that we're going to develop you, and then you might not play as a freshman, but as a sophomore or as a redshirt freshman, if you really didn't play, then here's your opportunity. Yeah, you're going to pick and choose some positions to do that. And I would just make the case that wide receiver is a reasonable spot to do that with when you have a guy that I consider to be a superstar already on the team, and you're probably a run first offense anyway. So like, if that's a spot where they get bodies, absolutely, but you're doing it on the cheap to try and come up with that diamond in the rough, that's the position I'm comfortable doing it with. I'm not comfortable doing it at cornerback. Like, you got to get a bunch of guys. You need quantity and quality at cornerback.
Well, you need depth
and on that defense.
Mostly.
Yeah.
The quality I think is more important on the corner spot because you just don't have any starters right now. You have at least one starter in the wide receiver room. You need to go out and get at least one, maybe two more.
Need a starter for sure.
But again, like, injury can hit any room. This year, like, it was disproportionate towards quarterback and kicker. Like, you have no clue where it could come from. So like, you gotta build it up everywhere. And
Blake
Mizzou
Craig's
has to
back too. That's one of the tweets was Blake Craig. So
right, yeah, he's back.
I hope he's like
good,
ready. I don't really know. It's like a lot of times
so.
you think about
Week 1
with ACL, we go whatever, 9 months, 10 months, whatever. But like with the kicker, it's kind of his most important thing is his legs.
True.
So we'll see.
Fair.
But I would love to have him back and looking like he did for the first couple of kicks of that Central Arkansas game, because I was having visions of some special stuff from him this year. We know he's got the leg when he's healthy, but that'll be something to watch for in August as well. Like, is he healthy, recovered, ready to rock and roll? Because you would love to have a kicker who can be a weapon rather than the demise of society and everything bad about the world.
Wow.
That's kind of the way it felt watching the kickers this year. No offense.
It was not great.
It was awful.
We can say that.
It was terrible.
But what we do know is that for this transfer portal cycle, Mizzou is now on the board. PowerMizzou.com reporting that they've gotten the commitment of Jaleel Florence, a corner out of Oregon, from the transfer portal. Of course, we know about Austin Simmons. That technically is down the pipe. Simmons not in the portal just yet. He'll enter once Ole Miss is out of the playoff, and then the expectation is that he'll join Mizzou after that. But call or text us with what you think so far about Mizzou's transfer portal season, 573-875-KTGR. We're going under the bus next. Zach Taylor, come on, man. Read the room. Don't complain about this kind of stuff. That's next.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Andy Humphrey. Once again, Mizzou football reportedly has its first transfer commitments into the Tigers for the 2026 season. PowerMizzou.com reporting this afternoon that Jaleel Florence, a cornerback from Oregon, is committing to the Tigers. Has not played much over the last couple of years due to injury. Played in one game last season, missed all of 2024 due to a meniscus injury. Played 2022 and 2023 seasons with the Ducks. And he made 9 starts in 2023 with 27 tackles, 2 for loss, a sack, and an interception. Mizzou will try to scour the rest of the transfer portal market as the portal is open until January 16th, which is next Friday. Mizzou men's basketball used a good night from Anthony Robinson II, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists as the Tigers took down number 22 Florida 76-74 at Mizzou Arena on Saturday night to improve to 1-0 in conference play, 11-3 overall. They're at Kentucky on Wednesday night. Mizzou women's basketball lost at Kentucky yesterday, 74-52. Kelly Harper's Tigers are 0-2 in conference. They will take on undefeated Vanderbilt on the road on Thursday.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking a clear night with chilly temperatures as we drop down into the mid to upper 30s. Tomorrow's a beautiful day. We'll see lots of sunshine, temperatures approaching 60 degrees. The mild weather looks to stick around through much of this week. We'll see rain chances returning by Thursday. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
High school hoops.
Switches on the crossover, Euro step inside, high off the glass and in.
At its best.
Catch it on the left wing, turns around and knocks down the three.
KTGR is your home for the best high school basketball matchups in Columbia. Follow the QBs, Bruins, Spartans, and Trailblazers all season long on KTGR's High School Hoops Game of the Week. See the full list of game broadcasts on KTGR.com and listen on the go with a free KTGR app. High school basketball lives here on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hi, we're Midway Electric. When winter hits, electrical issues can turn serious fast, at home or at your business. That's why you need a trusted local team that shows up, solves the problem, and stands behind the work. From whole home generators and security systems to everyday service and repairs, Midway Electric has you covered. And now through January, get $500 off a whole home generator installation to keep you powered up no matter the weather. Midway Electric, powered by people with pride. MidwayElectricInc.com.
This is Brian Mays with Family Pawn Stores. We've been working with Zimmer Communications for decades. Since we started our branding campaign, we've seen our business grow by leaps and bounds. I signed on for radio and ended up with website service, digital advertising, plus all the production. Having a partner like Zimmer Communications has been paramount in building our business. I can rely on their staff for every facet of marketing, and that's just been a real relief.
Zimmer Communications. You know business. We grow business. ZimmerCommunications.com.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, visit FVGradio.com.
If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise.
See website for complete details.
We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird.
An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it?
Call now, 800-417-6411. 800-417-6411. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and you get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-417-6411 and give us your answer.
The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
Hi, my name's Robin Fletcher. I've smoked for 46 years. I went to a seminar in March 27th and seen Mark. My best friend came with me. We both went to it, and neither one of us smoked a cigarette in almost 7.5 months. I took my 3 sisters and my brother-in-law and my sister's best friend and them went. None of them have smoked a cigarette, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
My name is Jen Carpenter. I went to a Mark Patrick seminar, the Stop Smoking, and it worked. A friend of mine also went, and he still no longer smokes, and it was just amazing.
Lose weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis Guaranteed, only $59.99 or your money back. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all or your money back. Stop Smoking Hypnosis, 8 p.m. on Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or 8 p.m. on Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn, Columbia East in Columbia. Registration 30 minutes before. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
So, Mr. Fancy Dancy Sports Car Dude, you say you were distracted by a raccoon feasting in the road? Okay. How about the fact that you were going way too fast when there's like 5 inches of snow on the ground? Nice ditch you got there, bro. Now you need a savior, a do-over. Find your phone and just Google I-70 Towing. They're Mid-Missouri's go-to crew for slide-offs. When your winter world seems to have been wrecked, call the team they hope you never have to meet. I-70towing.com. A raccoon. Just ridiculous.
The best local sports talk around on your ride home. You've got the Big Show on KTGR.
You know what? If Zach Taylor had a team this year that was actually fighting for something, I would have been a little more receptive of his complaints. But Zach Taylor was out of line here. He was complaining about the fact that the game got stopped because Myles Garrett got his 23rd sack to set the NFL single-season record for sacks. No one's ever done it before. Gotten 23 sacks in a season. Myles Garrett did it, and they had a moment for him, deservedly so. And Zach Taylor's out here complaining after the game. Quote, 5 minutes left in our season. We're playing for our lives here. And I was never told that we were going to stop the game in a critical moment like that. The refs just said they made a decision that they were going to stop the game. Like, come on. Oh, we're fighting for our lives. 5 minutes left in our season. Probably should have been fighting for your lives a little earlier. That way it wouldn't be, out of the playoff conversation for the last month. I don't know. Just thought.
Commentary from him made me feel like, man, it sure is time for them to get another coach. And yet he's one of the few coaches that wasn't fired today.
Yeah.
Who had a losing season. So
that too.
I don't know what the Bengals are doing with him, but I don't know. I guess Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow could team up to save his job. Like if they just are so great next year that they stay healthy and they make the playoffs. But I still don't think I'm very high on Zach Taylor. So.
Yeah, I was surprised that was not a thing that we saw today. Zach Taylor out as Bengals head coach. Same thing for Mike McDaniel. Also surprised by that.
I was not surprised by that one. I'm
waiting for the
receptive.
GM.
What if he's fine? What if 2 is the problem? I might be back in on the idea of McDaniel being able to figure it out if they let him. Now it's a dangerous game to play because if he stinks and he picks. He has a hand in picking the next quarterback and they get it wrong, and then you set yourself back another 3 or 4 years. But I just think he's a sharp guy when it comes to offense. And if he can delegate some of the other stuff, like the team didn't quit on him. They ended up, stringing together some wins later in the year. I would not go back to the table with him and Tua both. But if they want to go and say, let's get him a quarterback and try it. I know normally I advocate for not doing that. Like, don't let your kind of lame duck head coach pick the quarterback. But if they can get a good one, I think it could work there still for him.
Well, in either way, Zach Taylor. And then also under the bus to the Jets, Todd McShay basically giving advice through the public sphere to Dante Moore saying, hey, buddy, if you're a high projected pick and the Jets have any chance of getting you, stay in school. He basically said no player wants to be taken by the Jets in this year's NFL draft. Can't blame him.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either. And I'm out on Aaron Glenn. I told you already. I just
look, I mean,
it ain't gonna happen. I just
probably
something about him. It's just the same as I felt about Jonathan Gannon early on. That's kind of how I feel about Aaron Glenn. I just don't think it's gonna go well.
Okay.
Gannon was fired by the Cardinals.
Yeah, Gannon was not surprising. I wouldn't have been shocked if they had done that to Aaron Glenn, but I'm kind of glad that they didn't.
Aaron Glenn only got 1 year, but then again, so did Pete Carroll, and he also got the axe, which that was ill-advised from the start. Bad idea.
Absolutely. Hey, over the weekend, some good results for Mizzou gymnastics and wrestling. Gymnastics got their first win. Of course, their primary home arena now is Mizzou Arena. They moved from the Hearns over to Mizzou Arena and got a win over Iowa State, a pretty convincing one. Good team score as well, and some young freshmen putting together some nice first routines. And then Mizzou Wrestling winning the Soldier Salute over in Iowa, 3 individual champions. Good stuff from Mizzou Athletics over the weekend, I shall say.
Love to see that. Love to see all the sports making their hay as we watch the football transfer portal, the men's basketball team getting it done. Good, solid weekend, I would say.
So we'll see if Mizzou men's basketball can keep that going into this week, going on the road. And obviously, Mizzou trying to make hay in the transfer portal on the football side. But let's turn our attention to the NFL, and namely the Chiefs next. What's their biggest question mark heading into this offseason? They're entering the offseason about a month earlier than they're used to, but I've got a lot of questions to answer. What's the biggest one in your mind? Tell us next here on The Big Show.
You don't just sell, you connect. You listen, learn, and deliver. You build relationships that turn clients into partners. At Fuse 32, our people don't push products. They craft solutions. They anticipate problems before they even happen, and they fix them before anyone notices. If results and relationships, not excuses, drive you, then it's about time to join the team that never settles. Fuse 32. There's nothing we can't do. Apply now at Fuse32.com.
You're not the kind to make a nice little snow angel when the snow falls. You mark your territory in a different way. With a lemonade autograph. But when others tinkle their title in your business parking lot, you get peed off. Thanks a lot, Chad. Nice cursive work, though. Good for you, Tina. Tina? Wait a minute. Get rid of the snow graffiti with Crutch's Custom Exteriors commercial snow removal. Call Crutch's and get a quote today. Seriously, though, Tina, that's impressive.
Lose weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis Guaranteed or your money back. No matter how many times you failed in the past, this hypnosis is guaranteed to work.
After this hypnosis, I want to eat good food.
Since August, I can honestly say I have not had one potato chip.
It was life-changing for me.
And I don't think about desserts like I used to.
Bridget, how much have you lost now?
I lost a total of 83 pounds.
Holy cow.
It's easy, it's fun, very relaxing, and very successful.
And I would just say go for it.
Oh my, what are you waiting for? Lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed, only $59.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings, late-day eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. Hypnosis, Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn, Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m., stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. Registration 30 minutes before. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
KTGR AM Columbia, KTGR FM Fulton Columbia, K286CL Columbia, in Missouri's total sports station. KTGR.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. A couple more coaching changes made on this day after the end of the 2025 NFL regular season. Raiders fired Pete Carroll after 1 year. Jonathan Gannon out following 3 seasons with the Cardinals. And Kevin Stefanski, after 6 seasons, dismissed by the Browns. Add those to the Giants, Titans, and Falcons vacancies. Might the Ravens be the 7th team with a head coach opening? ESPN NFL insider Dan Graziano.
At this point, we don't have reason to believe the Ravens are considering moving on from John Harbaugh or that he's considering moving on from them. But they've come to the end of an extremely disappointing season. There's been enough noise and chatter around this and around the uncertainty with Lamar Jackson and his future contract situation that we're watching it. I think still the likelihood is that John Harbaugh is back next year.
Mike McDaniel told reporters today he'll remain the head coach of the Dolphins and will be part of the team's interview process for its next GM. Also confirmed there'll be a quarterback competition in 2026. Meanwhile, Dolphins QB Tua Tagovailoa benched the last 3 games, said he is open to a fresh start. His salary cap hit for 2026, $56 million.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to save money. When you bundle your auto policy with home, condo, or renters, you'll earn a multi-policy discount. Easy to bundle, easy to save. Visit progressive.com.
From Faro. 15 to the 10, to the house. Bush. Back to the wall, and it's got her. And Arrowhead. Touchdown! Kansas City! To your speakers. This is the big show, baby. Get fresh takes on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Right now, this is the Big Show with Andy and Brendan on KTGR.
So the Chiefs season's done. It's usually not done around this time of year, but that's the case. Time to get used to it, it seems. You're on the Big Show, KTGR, and the KTGR app with Andy and Brendan. We'll talk next about what the biggest question mark is for the Chiefs heading into this very important offseason. Can't have an F grade. Like, Chiefs got an F grade this year. Got to avoid that again in 2026. How can they avoid that? Call or text us at 573-875-KTGR. We'll talk more about Mizzou basketball and football. We'll get some of your calls and texts on that. And also, who is your NFL playoff favorite? Can't be the Chiefs, obviously, but the playoff field now set. Who do you see as the favorite this time around? Call or text us at 875-KTGR with your thoughts on that. But first, it's 5 o'clock.
It's time for the Top 5 at 5 on The Big Show. Number 1.
If you want to trade away for curtain number 1, you can have curtain 1.
Well, the story of the weekend was Mizzou basketball at Mizzou Arena on Saturday night, beating defending national champions Florida 76-74. The Gators' last gasp three-pointer at the buzzer did not go, allowing Mizzou to survive. And look, Mizzou didn't play great down the stretch. You don't foul a guy that's driving the lane when you're up like Mizzou was. You don't miss both free throws like Mark Mitchell did. But they won the game, and they did it against a team with a pulse. It's the first time we can say that all year. And I don't think it was a coincidence that it happens with Trent Pierce and Jaden Stone in the lineup together for the first time. I think that helps. I think getting the good version of Anthony Robinson helps, and obviously Mark Mitchell contributing. I feel like they maybe have something here. This is a key week, facing Kentucky on Wednesday, Ole Miss on Saturday, both games on the road, to see whether or not I can fully buy back in. I just want to see them play with that same energy, and you might have something here, Mizzou.
Number 2.
Number 2, your timing is impeccable.
A lot of news is going to have to come about the remade defense for Mizzou football in this transfer portal period, but they at least got to start with a former 4-star prospect, Jaleel Florence, who has been at Oregon, hasn't really played the last couple of years, but he's a cornerback, and you certainly need that in the room. You got him, you got Austin Simmons presumably coming. That's really all we know for now, but there will be more Mizzou portal news, I'm sure.
Number 3.
Black Monday in the NFL. That's when the head coaches get the axe. Pete Carroll, Jonathan Gannon, Raheem Morris, and Kevin Stefanski all fired after the end of their regular seasons. The Giants and Titans already fired their coaches earlier in the year. 2 coaches I think should go that haven't gone. Zach Taylor of Cincinnati and Aaron Glenn of the Jets. Although you can make the argument nobody wants to coach the Jets, so maybe they just stick with Aaron Glenn. One that most think should go but isn't going, and he's going to stay, and I'm okay with it, is Mike McDaniel in Miami. I think get him a quarterback who isn't Tua, and let's see what he can come up with.
Number 4.
Oh, shanked it.
Some baseball news. Brendan Donovan, still a Cardinal for now. Not only that, Nolan Arenado was still a Cardinal, and I don't really know. Your guess is as good as mine. Chaim Bloom on KMOX yesterday expressing again that where he is and where the team is, it makes sense to find a different fit for him. They just haven't found it yet, and so here we are. That situation continues to linger.
Number 5.
What did the 5 fingers say to the face? Slap!
Yeah, the Chiefs did play yesterday. They lost to the Raiders, actually, 14-12. I didn't watch a single second of the game. I couldn't do it. What's the biggest question mark they have for this offseason so they don't repeat this type of year next season?
That's the Big Show's Top 5 at 5 on KTGR.
Can call or text us at 573-875-KTGR if you want to weigh in. Yeah, I I had it on the background yesterday. I spent a good amount of that time taking down Christmas lights.
Okay.
So like there were other things going on. It wasn't like most of my focus was on the game for a lot of the time, but it was on. And
I had the local games. Normally in the St. Louis area, the Chiefs are a non-starter. They're always on.
Right.
If you look at the coverage map, it like right around Wright City or Warrenton
cut
is
you
where
out a little bit. Yeah.
I wasn't missing it. I definitely would have preferred the other options that were on. But I was using the Sunday ticket on my phone, and I could put 4 games on the screen. The only reason the Chiefs were on that screen of 4 games was because there weren't any games that I was missing. Like I was accessing all the games that were being played, but I wasn't looking at that corner of my phone. I was looking at the other screen.
But you needed the equilibrium. You need to fill out the whole screen.
Yeah,
it needed to use the
space.
space.
Gross if I would have. I could have done that. I could have been punitive and like actually taken them off the screen. But there was that off chance that like if I looked over there, maybe I saw Travis Kelce doing something cool, and then I would be like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I didn't. I never even looked at it. I couldn't tell you one thing about the game. I couldn't tell you who played. I couldn't tell you who didn't play. Nothing.
Kelce was trying to get, I think it was 57 yards to be like second all time in
sure
receiving yards
there
for a time. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He got 3 catches for 12 yards.
That's right.
Because he had Chris Oladokun and Shane Buechele trying to throw him the football.
It's so sad.
It wasn't going very well.
Oh, Brashard Smith got 12 carries. Well, hey,
he needed more.
Something.
He needed more.
I'm looking at. I'm telling you, he probably needed more all year.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't have made a difference.
It would have. This was the time to give him more, and they did not. If you ask me, but
12 for 56. He's probably the running back on the roster with the most juice. They should get rid of everyone that's not Brashard Smith and then bring in an actual RB1 and let Smith be the RB2. I would actually be fine with that. I think he's an interesting player as like kind of a pass catcher guy. Let him be the third down back and then bring in a running back. But that's not the biggest question mark.
No,
I don't think we could say running back is like number 1 on the list. But what would you say, Andy, and listeners out there in listener land? 573-875-KTGR. What's the biggest question mark that they can answer and then not be in this situation next year? Because this has not been fun.
It is very tough because you could say that there were a bunch of little things that all added up and it made the Chiefs 6-11 this year, or 6-8 if you really want to hunker down to the record where they were trying.
Good job losing every other game, though.
Oh, yeah.
That helps your draft pick.
You've got the 9th overall pick this year.
Pretty good.
How about that? That's pretty good.
My mother-in-law was getting sad about the Chiefs game, and I said, hey, I saw they took the lead. It was like 12-11, and then she sent a text back like a sad face. I'm like, oh, they must have lost. And I said, don't worry, better draft pick.
Better draft pick.
So, like, that's fine.
Yeah, you're totally fine with that. I think it centers around the offense, and it may not even be just one particular aspect of it, because Mahomes is going to be like, he's your guy still. He is still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
So that's not the biggest question is, do they need a quarterback?
No,
number 1?
No, it is not. The question is, will they need to go and find a new offensive coordinator? If you saw that news today, apparently the Titans are wanting to interview Matt Nagy for their head coaching position.
Or defensive coordinator, because I saw they've requested Spags as well.
Well, I guess they can only take one of them.
I hope they take Nagy. No offense to Spags. But I lived through him being a head coach at one point. I like him a lot better as a D coordinator, I got to say.
Why is everybody so happy that their offensive coordinator gets hired away to be a head coach? Seems to happen everywhere. Happens everywhere.
What's wrong with us as Missouri-based sports fans? I guess.
Not even just Missouri. It happens everywhere.
People hate their offensive coordinators when the offense doesn't produce. Absolutely.
And even when they do produce, they still hate them.
Sometimes.
Like, there's been so much consternation over that. But, yeah, look, like that could be a chance for the Chiefs to not revamp, because this is still Andy Reid's offense. And I think it's going to have that type of influence. But if in fact they're going after a new offensive coordinator, and even through all of that, Matt Nagy, I think his contract is up. So like, I don't think it's like the Chiefs have to make a decision on him.
Right. You can't just do nothing.
Even though he might be getting courted by other places. But yeah, to me, it depends on who you bring in there. And then mostly on that, is Andy Reid going to be a little more adaptable with his offense?
It's a fun question. They have to find their Chip Lindsey, right? And it's like we know whose system this is. In the Mizzou comparison, it's Eli Drinkwitz, but
here's the thing: like there is part of that, but you have probably Travis Kelce leaving.
I guess technically that's the biggest question mark, just to know yes or no.
Right.
I don't think it impacts a lot in terms of like he's a good player still, but
he can still be around. He can still be part of your offense. He can't be the focal point anymore. And I think they've known that for the last couple of years, but maybe have been a little reluctant to actually funnel targets to someone in particular anyway. Like when you are at your best health-wise, what's your bread and butter? What do you go to? What's your DNA play that when you know that you're stuck on offense, what do you go to? I think a lot of the league has figured out what the Chiefs try to establish, and they take them out of plan A pretty much most games that were past week 7, where they got everybody healthy, they got Rashee Rice back, and they were able to beat up on bad teams. But everybody else was able to figure out, okay, this is how we frustrate Mahomes a little bit later on in the game. Like, obviously, protection was part of that. They were not healthy at either tackle position. But I think you can also maybe look back and say, well, can we get a little bit better? But what do you do with Jawan Taylor? What do you do with the interior? I mean, you know a lot about Trey Smith, and you know a lot about Creed Humphrey. Is Kingsley getting it done for you? I think it's existential questions more so than just, we need this one personnel guy. We need to go out and get this free agent. We need to go and get.
Yeah, it's not one piece is not going to fix it.
No, I think it's a mindset. I think it's not necessarily scheme, but it is like, what at the heart are we trying to accomplish?
What's your identity? And
exactly.
It doesn't have to be a different identity than what you're used to it being, knowing that Mahomes has been the constant here and Andy Reid has been the constant here. Can you move forward with that same identity, or do there need to be tweaks to it? Within the good years, there have been tweaks to it. Some years the defense is leaned on a little more heavily. Some years, you didn't have the defense, and so you got to outscore everybody, but they were able to do that in those years. You had Tyreek Hill for most of them. Like, I don't really know. I'm stuck on this comment here. I'll put it on the screen from YouTube. Aaron says, having high draft position for years, unfortunately, comes to bite. And the high position isn't they're drafting 9th. I think Aaron's talking about 32nd.
Further right? In the first round, not being able to pick early.
You're drafted at the end. I also think that, like, not getting a lot out of the recent picks that they've drafted in those early rounds is contributing to this.
Here's the thing.
FAU was in 2023.
Case in point, the Eagles have done just fine drafting where they've drafted over the last few years or so.
Players in the end of the first round, and the Chiefs, they just haven't. Like, FAU has not been a good pick. Kingsley, we haven't seen enough out of him. Xavier Worthy, I am not really sure, and maybe that's a legit question. I think he's very talented. I think he can be great, but I don't think the offense was operational enough to, like, let him shine. But is he too one-dimensional as a receiver to where, like, he's your MVS, and that's kind of the deal? I don't know. Can they get more out of him is a fair question, because I do think that Rashee Rice is a good player. But then you look at this last year and the way that it went with their top picks being injured or having personal issues like Simmons did for a while. Like, you can get production from your drafts. The Chiefs just haven't really been able to do that from their early round picks. And so if you're losing Kelce, which you probably are, you feel good about Rice and Worthy, I suppose. It can't just be, we got to get more weapons for Mahomes, but you're also going to be in a spot where you might be at a little bit of a deficit. None of their first 3-round picks last year were spent on a wideout. The first one they took was Jalen Royals, and we didn't really see him at all this year.
Yeah.
So if you're losing your tight end and you're kind of skeptical about Worthy, is he one-dimensional or is he a full, complete player? And Rice has got to be getting closer to contract stuff too.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's more urgent. Like, you need to know what Rashee Rice is in regards to your team, I think, a little more urgently than Worthy, because Rice has been here for a year long.
But I think he's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, I think Rashee Rice is a dude.
Okay.
But I think you have to have other things going with that. But this is kind of like the Mizzou situation where I'm like, yeah, you might just have to SU your wide receiver 3 because you have bigger problems. I think for the Chiefs, the biggest question is offensive line. And I really think they went in on fixing it last year, but they got snake bit by injuries and different things happening.
Yeah.
But like revisiting that, sitting back down at the table and going, all right, was this a fluky year, or do we need some other pieces in here that are going to be able to get this thing up and going? Because you're going to have to keep Mahomes upright after the injury. And I think he can get it done with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and Noah Gray, but it's like probably needs a running back. But first, I think the offensive line stuff. Ask yourself, did we make the right moves and we just got snake bit, or do we need to continue massively overhauling the unit, getting enough depth to be able to withstand if it happens again where you suffer injuries on the O-line? To me, that's number one, because I feel like there will be questions that can be answered on defense, but that'll be answered by like, yeah, you might have to trade a Trent McDuffie. Like that's another big question mark. What do you do in the sum of your parts to make the whole thing work? Do you have to trade somebody that you don't want to have to trade? Yeah, maybe you do, but I feel like you can figure that out on the defensive side more than I don't want to leave anything to chance on O-line. Like really figure out and feel good about a plan.
Call or text us at 875-KTGR. What about running back, though? Because here's what I'll say.
It's up there on the list for sure. I don't know if it could be number one.
Well, and Ben, his text here, everyone's saying the Chiefs have to get Love with pick number 9 or crazy. Sure, he's an amazing talent. We need to improve our defensive line so much more. The seasons we won the Super Bowl, we were top 5 in sacks. This year, we're 20th. I do agree that the trenches, but I would lean more to the defensive line has to be what you're looking at for your first couple of picks, maybe during this cycle. You go out and get the best edge or the best D tackle.
Yeah, edge rusher would be another good call.
And you can get a solid one if you use that at pick number 9. So like that I think needs to be one of the top considerations, because you've got to provide some sort of foundation for future years to keep your window open. That being said, though, like you can still draft later on running back. Like you can go 3rd, 4th, 5th. We're dying that they would do it this time around. If they had done it, they would have gotten somebody pretty decent.
If they had Woody Marks right now,
that'd be great. Yeah.
I don't know what round he went in, but that was a nice pick.
It was a good pick, and he's on a playoff team now. So like it's something that they can still invest in, and I wonder if they go out into the free agent market and they see what they can get there with
I actually do lean more toward free agency. I'm trying to pull up a list right now, but I know that there are some interesting ones. The reason I was trying to pull up the list is I'm trying to remember last year, like Javonte Williams signing with the Cowboys. Yeah. What's Javonte Williams making? The salary that some of these free agent running back, you have to do a little bit more than the Elijah Mitchell thing.
Yeah.
Like that tier is not going to get the job done. He made a base salary of, I'm reading, $1.4 million. But Javonte Williams was 1 year, $3 million contract, up to 3.5 with incentives, which I imagine he probably earned because he had a great season. Sometimes you can find those diamonds in the rough at running backs because for whatever reason, NFL teams just ignore it and they don't want to pay him. I think that's the market inefficiency where you might be able to get a free agent in that tier. Now, you have to go above the $1 million range that you're just giving money away. I would look long and hard at Tyler Algier. I don't know what his cost will be, but he is a free agent.
Yeah.
And I think he's a good football player.
Yeah.
And if Tyler Algier is getting like a $40 million contract.
Is he year 1?
So what I was going to say is if he's getting a multi-year, like big time deal, like if he's considered one of the best running backs in the class and somebody goes crazy for him, maybe that's not what I see with the Chiefs. I see it if it's like kind of like the Javonte Williams thing where you can get him for, I don't know, $5-6 million on a shorter deal. Cause I really would think about Ahmad Hardy the next year. I would go into a season if the price was right and you were able to fill other needs because of it, because you didn't spend up. I would go into the season signing Algier to like a 2-year contract or whatever it is that he's going to get within reason, and say we like Brashard Smith, and maybe you do still draft somebody in the 4th or 5th round, but maybe Tyler Algier is like, we see it from time to time that the guys, like, it's not Tyler Algier's fault that he's on a team with Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
That's just what happens. But the way the Chiefs want to play, I feel like Algier would be a better Pacheco.
Right.
Where Pacheco doesn't really catch the ball a lot, neither does Algier. But the role that Pacheco is supposed to fill, I just don't think he's great at it. I think Algier could fill that role, to be honest with you.
Yeah, maybe the ship has sailed on Pacheco's window to be most productive there. And so the Chiefs.
I don't know his contract. I would flat out cut it.
I think he's a free agent. I think you don't need to.
See.
So like you could let him run out. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Jason texting in Rashad White. Interesting. Maybe
I don't want to overpay for any of these guys though. I want to
maybe lower on the list of the ones that you mentioned. I think the ones you mentioned would be solid options to bring in the room and see if they can produce for you. The question then becomes like, what's the hierarchy? Like if you're keeping Rashard Smith around, if you're going into the draft and you get one of those guys, like what's the timeshare? What exactly are you doing with your identity? I don't know if that drastically changes the identity of what the Chiefs would be running the football into 2026, which I would be intrigued if they think that they can do that with a little more regularity. And I'm sure an Andy Reid-led offense would love to operate that way. But I don't know if those guys would move the needle, in my opinion.
I'm looking at this on Spot Track, and you can take their estimated market value AAVs for whatever they're worth. I don't know if they're right or not. But the way they have it ordered, I disagree with a little bit. But Breece Hall is number one. Yeah, like if you're just going to spend on running back, I think he's a stud. Yeah, absolutely. Totally fine. J.K. Dobbins is listed way too high for me coming off of an injury, but still a good player. Like, I don't know if you're getting him on a discount. Maybe they list him at $9 million.
Good when he was healthy. I mean,
he did. He's going to be 28 though in the following year. He's 27 now. I don't know. Kenneth Walker, I'm going to go ahead and say no, thank you for the Chiefs. Very explosive, very exciting player, tantalizing. He will drive you mad. He will. I've never seen a running back.
For fantasy purposes, probably, but
no, not just fantasy purposes. It's why Zach Charbonnet is seeing so much of the work for that Seahawks. Watch a Seahawks game. What you'll see is Ken Walker make an explosive play for 30 yards. He will run backwards for 9 yards the next time he touches the ball, and he will not be in the game on the goal line. He will not be in the game in the crunch because Charbonnet doesn't fumble and they trust him. I just think Ken Walker, you can get more bang for your buck than Ken Walker. I just think he's kind of you're gonna be frustrated with him. But then you get into like Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne. That would be interesting to me.
Yeah, I think so.
That would be one where like you might have to sign a 3-4 year contract, but like if you're not wanting to mess with it in the draft, Travis Etienne I think is a good enough player, and he's 26, going to be 27. He's basically the same age as Pacheco, but like good at football. I would say Etienne, but all of this is in the context of like, I don't really know what the price point's going to be. And sometimes the best thing you could do at running back is just draft one because you've got him on that rookie deal. You don't have to pay a running back, but they can't do what they did this last time and just run it back with, they gotta clean it out. And I think a 3-headed monster where Rashard Smith is your third one, but kind of plays a little bit as the third one on third downs would be totally fine. You could sign one and you can draft one. They need more out of the run game because you asked about the identity. If they don't want to put it all on Patrick Mahomes' shoulders with a receiving core and a tight end group that doesn't have Travis Kelce, it doesn't have a Tyreek Hill, like maybe, hey, if we say we want to establish the run, have a guy that can actually do that. Yeah. And they just didn't this year.
Call or text us at 875-KTGR. Biggest question mark for the Chiefs heading into the offseason. Let's head out to the KTGR hotline. Hello, who's this?
Hey, this is Seamus.
Hey, Seamus, what you got for us?
So your two biggest questions are, A, what are you doing with your positional coaches? Because we've not really seen a whole lot of development on either side of the ball from any position that's not coached by Merritt or Andy Heck. But the other part of it, player-wise, is what are you doing with your corners? You're looking at Jalen Watson leaving. He's obviously starting, right? You could cut Christian Fulton for an extra $5 million cap space if you really want. You're looking at this is the best time to trade McDuffie. And most of your depth in that room, also, their contracts are up too. So it's kind of one of those, Are you going to trade one, re-sign the other, or what are you going to do there? Because that room is pretty much hitting almost a complete reset going into next season as well.
Sure. Appreciate the call, Seamus, here on the Big Show, KTGR. I think that's another spot. Like, I really do think that for the best long-term future for the Chiefs, that they need to trade McDuffie. Then this is the time to do it.
If you can get value, don't trade him just because, but like if the value that we suspect is there, I would do it too.
And I don't know how much higher it will get going forward. So I think that this probably gives you the max on it. Watson, I could take it or leave it. I think if you can bring him back on a deal that makes sense, I think that's fine. Same thing with Fulton. You already have him on for one more year. I'd love to see what he is in a full season healthy. We didn't see that this year. The biggest thing, though, is that, like, look, it might not matter how beefed up your secondary is if you can get to the quarterback better than you did this past year. So, like, that's what you have to focus on. The Chiefs have been able to get by with some, like, those guys were rookies. They're talented rookies. McDuffie, Watson, guys like that, when they were winning Super Bowls. You want to know why? Because they had a bunch of dudes on the defensive line that were able to wreak havoc on the opposing quarterback. So, like, that's what helped them out in that stuff.
I might even change my answer from O-line to D-line to be like, let's get back to that where you're causing havoc. And then you can have playmakers on the back end that are they don't get as exposed as much because their jobs aren't as difficult when things are happening more quickly. You could also, we talk about wide receiver, and I kind of said I would let that position be one that, you just kind of work on some other things and you hope that Rice and Worthy pan out. Trade for Brian Thomas is a comment here on YouTube from Aaron. Brian Thomas to me is kind of the Ken Walker of wide receivers and did not have a good year this year. But the one thing that when we talk about NFL trades that it's hard for me to shake, like in baseball, I always know, oh, that's a great player. He's got years of control left. You're going to give up big time prospects. Football's different. You're giving up a draft pick. And sometimes if a team is like, if Liam Cohen, who came in, right, inherited the Brian Thomas situation, did not go well. Parker Washington looks like a stud more than Brian Thomas does. If Liam Cohen goes, I can't do anything with this dude, 5th round pick, whatever, trade, then I would if I'm the Chiefs. If it's like a day 3 pick or even like a late day 2 pick, I would. I'm not giving up the farm for a Brian Thomas, but that could be a way to do it on the cheap. And like when the Patriots had their dynasty and they had like 2 different dynasties, they made trades like that all the time where we're going, how did they get this guy for a 6th rounder? The Chiefs could benefit from something like that if they're looking at a change of scenery wide receiver. Absolutely.
Would you Worthy, Rice, Brian Thomas Jr. is good. I think that's better than Hollywood Brown as your wide receiver 3 or Juju or some of the other guys. Like, you can clear away those salaries, create some more space if you are able to.
Juju doesn't make much money, but I think Hollywood probably makes a little bit.
Yeah, I think he was around the.
Juju can stay forever as far as I'm concerned. If he's your wide receiver 5
forever chief
infinitely, that's just fine with me. Yeah.
I mean, that'd be great. Call or text us. Lots of comments on our YouTube channel, also on our text line. What's the biggest offseason question for the Chiefs that needs to get answered? We'll get to more of that coming up next year on the Big Show, and we'll talk about who's our favorite in the NFL playoffs that begin this weekend. That's next.
Breaking down the Tigers, Cardinals, Chiefs, and more like no one else. The Big Show continues next on KTGR.
Okay, the limb is hanging over the driveway. I need this pruned.
Oh, call the electrician.
An electrician?
Yeah, or maybe your HVAC guy.
You've officially lost it. I need an expert in the right field.
Fine. Call that lawn company. They mow and prune.
Yeah, they also scalped your yard last summer.
When it comes to trees, trust the experts who actually know trees. Ones that are trained and educated for pruning, planting, and removals done right. Call Eric at Advanced Tree Solutions, your tree's best friend. AdvancedTreeSolutionsLLC.com.
This is Brian Mays with Family Pawn Stores. We've been working with Zimmer Communications for decades. Since we started our branding campaign, we've seen our business grow by leaps and bounds. I signed on for radio and ended up with website service, digital advertising, plus all the production. Having a partner like Zimmer Communications has been paramount in building our business. I can rely on their staff for every facet of marketing, and that's just been a real relief.
Zimmer Communications. You know business. We grow business. ZimmerCommunications.com.
Hi, I'm Tom Connors. Went to Mark Patrick's hypnosis seminar February 6, 2019. Nothing worked before. Left there and never smoked again. Amazing. Easy, affordable, and guaranteed. A year later, with my wife Michelle, attended Mark Patrick's weight loss seminar. She lost 18 pounds and I lost 43 in 8 weeks.
It's true. He smoked 2 packs a day and nothing worked until Mark Patrick Hypnosis. Now we're losing weight together, eating healthy, full on half the food, crazy, enjoying exercising. Who would have believed Mark Patrick Hypnosis really works?
It's amazing. I can breathe again. My blood pressure went down and I've got so much energy.
So much energy.
And look great.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis. Only $59.99. Seminars Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
Losing a loved one is probably the hardest punch you will ever take in the fight of life. Dealing with the fallout, finances, and how to replace that loss of income for your family is even harder. That's why Phyllis Nichols and her team are so passionate about life insurance. Phyllis Nichols is the 12-round agent who fights for your best interests and knows exactly what you need. Get your life insurance with State Farm agency licensed Phyllis Nichols, the 12-round agent.
It starts with one little itch. One tiny red spot you swear wasn't there yesterday. Probably just a mosquito bite, right? Then you see another. And before you know it, you're lifting the corner of your mattress and finding exactly what you didn't want to see. Bed bugs. And here's the thing about bed bugs. They don't care how clean your house is. They don't care if you just did laundry. So you've got 2 choices. You can ignore them, buy some over-the-counter spray and hope they decide to pack their bags, or you can call Steve's Pest Control and get real help from real locals. They're mid-Missouri born and raised. They know our weather, our homes, and our bugs. They know where they hide, how they spread, and most importantly, how to get rid of them for good.
Hi, I'm Steve with Steve's Pest Control. We're going to solve your pest problem. I guarantee it.
Now you got a friend in the pest control business. Steve's Pest Control.
Back to more of the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. You've got The Big Show on the KTGR app.
No Chiefs playoff run this time around. It is officially over, the Chiefs season. So now, what will they do to avoid another disastrous year? 875-KTGR if you want to call or text us here on The Big Show with Andy and Brendan. Get some more of your texts. As Jason said, Noel Williams is that guy. That's another guy in the secondary that they liked and certainly played well early in the year as a rookie. I think he kind of dropped off a little bit towards the second half. Still played a lot yesterday, obviously, but that's another option going forward at corner that I think you can rely on to play the position well enough to where if you have a pass rush that can hold its own, then Noel Williams will look a lot better, and Christian Fulton will look a lot better, and Shamari Connor and these other guys. So like it all kind of harkens back to that. Yes, the Chiefs have had really good corners. They did really well in that draft with McDuffie and Watson, getting them both in the same year. I just think now, like they had to make that decision on Snead, and they said, like, look, it's more worth it to us to get the draft capital and capitalize on what he is right now and not risk him getting an injury that makes him miss half of next year, or he doesn't play as well because he's guarding the best receiver on the other end and he doesn't put up as good of numbers. So like that's what you always have to weigh when it comes to corners. And I would think that the Chiefs have a similar type of formula when it comes to evaluating McDuffie as he enters this 5th-year option.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of decisions to make. You do have that top 10 pick that I think you're right. You have convinced me that edge rusher is probably the way to go with that, to try and just get the absolute most as you can out of your pass rush. And now you're actually in a position in the draft to be able to do that without having to say, he's not really a blue chipper. Like, no, you're going to get a dude if you draft him at that position. So that might be the way to go.
Yeah, edge. I mean, D tackle would be fine. Probably not at number 9. You could probably get good value later in the draft at D tackle. and they went second round last year with Omar Norman Lott, who was hurt all of this year. So like they still have that they want to try and realize, but like the Karlaftis deal already looks like a bad one. And so with that lingering over your head for at least a few more years, you got to find some cheap options that actually get you some more consistency at the edge rusher spot. So
I currently see a draft mock on CBS Sports. It'll actually be kind of fun to look at mocks this year for the Chiefs. Yeah. They have him taking Ruben Bain Jr. from Miami, who is an edge rusher.
That would be good.
So like if he's there, that's one spot ahead of Caleb Downs. Like in that range of the draft, you're talking about getting a legitimate stud. So that's an exciting thing to look forward to.
So we'll see what it looks like for the Chiefs from that perspective. And it'll be a little bit different as to how they think about the 2026 offseason. Shane says, why not check in on Breece Hall?
I agree. I just think it'll be a little pricey.
Yeah.
And if you wanted him, you should just trade it for him and been good this year. I don't know.
But I mean, you don't have to go that far. But I would be intrigued by the Chiefs deciding, hey, let's get a running back that we know can be a one that can establish the run for us and make us look
a playmaker.
A little bit different than we were in past years. Because let's be honest, they do need to be different than they were in past years. Like people who will say, well, the Chiefs don't need a running back. They won the Super Bowl when Pacheco was a rookie and Damian Williams was their starting running back the first year they won it with Mahomes, and they'll harken back to that. Okay, yeah, because Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce were playing like the best quarterback receiver duo that we had ever seen. And even if Kelce comes back this next year, they're not that anymore. They just aren't. Like you can see it on the field. They are not as in sync anymore. So yeah, Kelce can help them out in some spots, but he can't be the driver of this offense like he was when the Chiefs were really putting this dynasty together. So if you evolve and you add a stronger run element to your offense, it can maybe help you to open up some of those passing options once again, because they were just able to create it. In the snap of your fingers, Mahomes finds Kelce, they get exactly what they need, and they're always alive into the AFC Championship game. It's just not true anymore.
No, and even I would say some of the complementary pieces that they were able to, like you thought were MVS was a bust, but then he comes up with a play in the Super Bowl, that kind of stuff. Like you just across the board, I think you're going to need more than what you have. And rather than, go for a third wide receiver, maybe you draft a tight end. If Kelce retires, I don't know, maybe you could get that other dude from what team's he on? Oregon. The Oregon tight end is probably going to go real early. But
there's some good ones this year across the board.
Oh, for sure. And that's why you probably take one, maybe a second round or something. But I would say the running back thing, it would be intriguing to resolve it with just simply say, Breece Hall is the best one out there and probably top 6 or 8 in the game, not just among free agents, but among all of them. And he's still pretty young. I'm seeing this from November that there was a Jeremy Fowler report that suggested his contract could be in line with Josh Jacobs, who got 4 years and $48 million a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
That sounds like probably the range. And if it is, you're just spending that on a running back rather than maybe being able to allocate that money elsewhere. But I would say that I've been an advocate for the Chiefs not ignoring the running back position like they have for a couple of years now. And that would be one way. You have a home run hitter at running back that Mahomes doesn't even have to have anything to do with the play. 70-yard touchdown run can happen with Breece Hall. I don't think they had anybody on the team this year that was giving you a 70-yard touchdown run.
No.
So be willing to support your all-time quarterback in that way they have to do it. It's just a matter of, are they going to buy the running back or are they going to draft one?
Call or text us at 875-KTGR. Okay. I think I disagree with Sam's text here, but he says this: DJ Moore and a 6th rounder from the Bears to the Chiefs for Chris Jones. Who says no? I think I do.
The Chiefs and Andy. Yeah.
Well, I would be shocked if the Bears even want to take that bad contract for Chris Jones, even for that.
Yeah, maybe. I think they'll dump DJ Moore for for less, though.
Right.
I think they'll dump him for a pick that's not a day 1 or probably 2 pick. Like they're going to trade him.
So like if you want to do that as the Chiefs and spend less of a player or an asset than Chris Jones is, then sure. I just don't see another team wanting to pay what Chris Jones is being owed now at the position and the age that he's at. So
if they do, though, I guess it would make sense for a player to be coming back rather than a pick because you can offset some of the money. I would say DJ Moore is that caliber. Like, yeah, I will trade a day 3 pick for a DJ Moore or a Brian Thomas, or like find that reclamation project that doesn't fit in where he currently is. I think that would be a way that you could approach getting another wide receiver if you feel you need one. You could sign a running back and then draft the trenches and end up being in a pretty good spot next year, as long as Mahomes recovers like he will.
That's another question mark, which we won't have answered until they can't
really plan around that. They
right.
Just, like not the biggest. We've kind of talked about some of the biggest. Another question mark is what backup quarterback. What do you want to do? Like knowing that you may have that guy starting week 1. Is there a emphasis on that?
Do you bring Minshew back? You didn't get the answer of whether he should maybe do that over the next 3 games. He got hurt in the first half of the first one. So I would probably do it if he's willing.
I think that's probably fine. I don't know really what the market. I would actually legitimately, and it sounds like he might go back to Cincinnati. I would go for Joe Flacco.
Ooh.
Joe Flacco was like, he's done this, man. He's been around the block doing this backup thing, and he might.
Man.
But there was some very good stuff coming out about how much he liked it in Cincinnati. So they might even re-up with him there.
Well, don't do Phillip Rivers.
Well, I think he's gonna be a coach somewhere. That's what I saw,
or on TV or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. He said he's retired for good this time, so I don't think it'll be him. I don't know who the free agents at quarterback are going to be this time around. I got to dig in, but it's going to be not a big name. You're trying to find a backup, but it's just unique because this time they might actually need him. You know what I mean? For the first couple of games or whatever. Daniel Jones is going to be a free agent. That'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
Rodgers, does he go back to Pittsburgh? I know they won the game last night, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more tomorrow, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It was so disgusting to watch them try to play offense in the first half. It was just running backs that were allowed to be targeted by Aaron Rodgers. But there's Mariota's out there. I actually sneaky kind of think Malik Willis should be a starter for somebody next year if you're quarterback hungry and on a bridge deal, like a Justin Fields type of vibe.
Yeah.
Malik Willis is a decent player for the Packers. Yeah, I don't know. You could go Mitch Trubisky. That'd be fun.
The guy that the Bears picked instead of Mahomes. Now they're on the same team together.
Go full circle with it.
There you go.
I don't see his name on this list. Maybe did he sign a multi-year deal? Jameis Winston would always be my answer.
Oh,
if you know you need a week 1 starter, absolutely. I need to see Jameis Winston and Patrick Mahomes interacting on the sideline as part of the same quarterback room. I love Jameis Winston. I don't understand why he doesn't get starting jobs. If you're why would you spend all that money if you're the Raiders on Geno and on Pete Carroll and then fire him after a year? Why not just sign Jameis to a year? And then you're we can draft Fernando Mendoza. At least let us have fun during the year. It's not going to work.
Well, they can still draft Fernando Mendoza, aren't they?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they can still do
They're going to do that now, but the middle part where you wasted all that money didn't need to happen. That didn't need to happen
it's the Raiders. It's the Raiders. Mark Davis loves setting money on fire. Loves that. Big Show's on at 544 KTGR and the KTGR app. Keep getting your Chiefs thoughts in via text line or on YouTube or on Facebook. In the meantime, we'll talk about who we're favoring in the NFL playoffs, who we're backing this time around since we can't do it with the Chiefs. That's next.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good evening, I'm Andy Humphrey. Mizzou football reportedly has landed its first commitment of the transfer portal cycle. Jaleel Florence, a corner out of Oregon, told PowerMizzou.com that he is committing to Mizzou. He's a former 4-star recruit out of high school, has not played the last couple of seasons for Oregon, mostly due to injury. In the 2023 season, he made 9 starts, 27 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, and another interception. This is the first known commitment for Mizzou football in the transfer portal cycle. It is expected that they will land the commitment of Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons once Ole Miss finishes its playoff run. That was widely reported last week that once he enters the portal, Missouri will be the favorites to land him. Mizzou men's basketball with their first victory in quad 1 in conference play as they took down number 22 Florida 76-74 on Saturday at Mizzou Arena. Anthony Robinson 19 points to lead the Tigers. Mizzou 11-3 overall. They take on Kentucky on the road on Wednesday night. Mizzou women's basketball lost at Kentucky yesterday 74-52. They're 0-2 in conference. 12-5 overall. Their next game is at undefeated Vanderbilt Thursday night. Now your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking a clear night with chilly temperatures as we drop down into the mid to upper 30s. Tomorrow's a beautiful day. We'll see lots of sunshine, temperatures approaching 60 degrees. The mild weather looks to stick around through much of this week. We'll see rain chances returning by Thursday.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
The foundation is set.
Missouri knocks off the number 1 team in the nation.
The frame is built.
On the run, Mizzou for the flush, Missouri by 20.
And the gates,
The habits, the response to detail, the execution, all that stuff matters.
are open.
Drives right baseline to the rim, jams it as he hangs and got fouled.
This is your radio home for Mizzou basketball.
Cruz, here comes the 3. Bang, he splashed it home.
Mid-Missouri's total sports station, KTGR.
Welcome to every gym in January. Membership prices, crazy high. Crowds, even worse. All just to wait in line for a bench. Or, hear me out, you could build your own home gym from Play It Again Sports. Free weights, dumbbells, plates, treadmills, ellipticals, benches, racks, and more. New and used. At prices that don't feel like a crime. No crowds, no monthly fees, no awkward eye contact with Chad curling on the squat rack. Play It Again Sports. Think of them first so you don't finish last. PlayItAgainSportsColumbiaMo.com.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Hey, this is Lisa Stofan. Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, made me want to exercise, and I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. My energy level exploded. I went to another session to deal with some other problem foods, and I lost another 10 pounds. In fact, I brought my husband, and he lost weight, and his cholesterol and blood pressure improved. My friend lost 20 pounds her first 2 months.
Oh my, what are you waiting for? Lose the weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis, guaranteed only $59.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings, late-day eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. That's right. Hypnosis Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 o'clock. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
You're a merchant of all things that are man. Firearms, fishing, cars, food, sports. Yeah, the kind of stuff every man always needs more of. So show it off at the Mecca of Man, the 2026 Como Man Show, Saturday, March 14th at the Northeast Event Center where the Boone County Fair is held. It's the best and most fun way to show every man they need what you got. Seriously, by showing them. Bring your best stuff, show it off, and have a blast. For more info on being a vendor at the Man Show, go to ComoManShow.com.
Hi, I'm Tristan Colon, Mizzou grad and 6-year NFL veteran.
I'm Charlie Stickland.
And I'm Sarah Stickland-McDonald of the Stickland & Stickland Injury Law Firm.
In football, home field advantage can make all the difference.
The same is true when choosing your injury lawyer.
We're locals. We know the courts, we know the towns, we know the people.
Just as I protect my team on the field.
Our family will protect your family.
When sorry just doesn't cut it.
Push back with Stickland & Stickland.
They can't shoot it straight on the golf course, but they can shoot straight on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Back to Andy and Brendan on The Big Show on KTGR.
Chiefs fans, give us your thoughts on the biggest question mark this offseason, how it needs to be answered. 875-5847. I can count, even though it's the new year. I still can do that. But
all right. I wasn't doubting it.
Well, maybe I can read numbers. That's maybe the question. But in any case, I do know that 6-11 adds up to the Chiefs not being in the playoffs, and that's going to be weird. It just is.
6-11 equals 9 in terms of their draft pick.
Ah,
you like that?
It
was bad math, so you're probably thinking, well, no, it doesn't.
Wait a minute.
No, it doesn't. How is this going to become a 6-7 joke? Nope, not that either.
Yeah, he was trying to do it. I think you were trying to do that, but
no, it's just about the draft pick.
But yeah, so the Chiefs are going to focus on who they want to take there, and then everyone else in the NFL playoffs focus on chasing that Lombardi trophy. I appreciated this tweet from Steve Palazzolo. He said, "This is the first time the AFC Championship will not feature Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, or Mark Sanchez since 2008. Hey, he went to a lot of AFC Championship games for.
I guess he probably did.
He did. That was the Jets' heyday, it would seem. But yeah, this year's gonna be a little odd. There could be a repeat champion. Eagles could be there, but I don't know. Do you favor the Eagles on the NFC side?
Sportsbook has the favorite right now is the Seahawks, plus 320 to win the Super Bowl. That's to win it, not to just get there.
To make it.
Do you want it by conference? I could probably find that too.
Well, so that's the team that has the shortest odds, the Seahawks, right now?
Seahawks. I mean, and I agree with that, by the way.
Yeah.
They've got the bye, and they're better than the Broncos, so that would be
right.
That would be my logic behind that. The Rams are second, despite the fact that they are on the road this weekend. They're playing Carolina. That is going to be a bloodbath. The Rams are favored by like 10 and a half.
There's only
the
one.
Rams are plus 400.
There was only one other game that could unseat the Texans from their rightful throne on Saturday at 3:30. But
and it's the Panthers.
It was Rams-Panthers, baby. Thank you for that.
Have you seen the stat, by the way, that the Steelers haven't lost on Monday Night Football in like a billion years? You scared about that at all?
Actually, a little bit. I was kind of wanting the Ravens last night.
I was going to ask you how you were watching that with an eye on what it meant for your Texans.
Yeah, it was.
The Ravens are a nightmare. I would rather play the Ravens too, because I don't think Lamar Jackson is very good anymore, and they just find ways to shoot themselves in the foot all year long.
Well, on defense in particular, and I know
touchdown to Calvin Austin was so bad.
Well, yeah, and like that. Kyle Hamilton not being out there for the final 12 minutes, he was hurt. Like that did make a difference, but that is a defense that doesn't scare me for the Texans' sake as much as the Pittsburgh defense does.
Yeah, Steelers at home too.
I'm not worried about the Texans holding either offense, the Ravens or the Steelers, at bay. Like, that's not the concern. The concern is like, okay, Texans have gotten by in a lot of these games, and they're on a 9-game winning streak right now, but like they offensively still have moments where they just cannot get out of the mud. And I feel like if they go through a drought in the second and third quarter without scoring against the Steelers, then they're asking for trouble. So
like the Steelers didn't feel at all like they were in that game last night. And then at the end they win the game.
Yeah. Florida.
So that's the scary thing that can happen with Pittsburgh. They are kind of, they had their breakdowns in the secondary too. If Stroud can do it through the air, Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, Hutchinson looked good in the game yesterday, then I think the Texans will be all right. They're not my favorite, though. I'll tell you the teams that are above Houston in terms of the odds from the AFC. The Broncos are plus 650 to win it all. The Patriots are plus 900. The Bills are plus 1,100. Both the Jags and the Texans are 1,300. So the Texans have 3 teams ahead of them, and they're tied with Jacksonville on the odds. I kind of think I still think Houston could be sneaky there. I don't really trust the Broncos. The Patriots could get through because I think the matchup with the Chargers is favorable, but they could lose that. Like they could lose that first game. I think the Texans, as much as, the Steelers could be a little scary, the Texans will be fine. The Steelers might not score a touchdown on offense. So I do like Houston to advance, and then, does an upset happen to where it changes what their second round matchup would be? We don't know that at this point in time.
I mean, Bills could do it to the Jaguars, potentially. Yep. That's maybe what you're hoping for. They have better
Super Bowl odds. I mean, the Bills are favored, I believe, on the road by 1.5.
Yeah.
That's still the team that I'm picking, but they could lose the first game for sure. But yeah, I am still taking the Bills out of the AFC, and it feels inevitable. I'm taking the Rams out of the NFC. I'm not trying to discount Seattle. Seattle, man, they put the 49ers just into a blender on Saturday night. Just no offense to speak of for San Francisco.
Yeah.
Seattle is really good on both sides of the ball. And so if they end up making the Super Bowl, I won't be surprised. But I still think if the Rams get one more crack at them, that the Rams will be ready to do it. And Devontae Adams will be back. And so I'm going Rams-Bills. I feels like so obvious to me, which is how I know both teams are going to be out before the championship round. But those are my favorites based on what I think is going to happen.
The bandwagon team for me is the Bears.
Dude, I want the Bears to do well.
So bad. Yeah.
I'm a little concerned about their very first game. Jordan Love comes back. Like when the Bears beat the Packers, Love was injured in that game, if I'm recalling correctly. So we'll see.
We'll see. It'll be a very fun NFL playoff picture, though.
Yes.
To see play out. So we'll await that. We thank you for joining us today. Final Chiefs Kingdom show of the year is tonight, right after us at 6 o'clock. We'll be back at 4 tomorrow. He's Brendan. I'm Andy. We're done for now.
Have you heard? There's a new biscuit on the block. In this month's